ये तो स्कैम हो गया मेरे साथ.
Most mums.
तो hand हो गया मेरे साथ. Like, did I know this was gonna happen? And I feel like, I'm not even kidding, like 4 mahine baad, I got him onto like taking 1 formula a day. And then 5th month, he took 2 bottles a day. And, he started picking up on his weight. He stopped being so cranky all the time. And then 6 months onwards, started eating. And I feel like 6 months ke baad, I'm like, oh my God, I love him. It took me 6 months to be like, for the first 6 months, I was just like, let's keep this one alive. Okay, that is the aim here. He has to, you cannot, you're responsible for him, that's it.
I think you are speaking what every mother has thought.
I'm
always.
A bit too verbal diarrhea.
No, but it's a good thing because there are people right now watching this who are like, oh my God, I thought the same thing. Okay, so today on the show, we've got our friend here, Zainab Yawar from Mubashir Salon. You'd think that we'd be talking about hair and makeup and everything salon related because that's normally what we assume, right? But no, not today. Today you are here to scare the pants off of me.
Oh, yes.
I believe.
Oh, yes.
I'm really excited about this. How's it going?
It's going well.
How's work? How's life?
Work is good. December season is about to start. So it's going to go absolutely crazy shortly. Abhi thoda sa it's picking up. There was like a slower season right before this. So you get some time to breathe, maybe take a vacation, chill, recuperate and get yourself ready for the craziness.
Right. And life? You have a son, I believe.
I have one, yes. He's 3 and he's intense. Whenever someone asks me how he's doing, I'm like, intense. He's intense. So he's 3. I've been married for almost 6 years now. And we live on our own. So thoda sa gora lifestyle hai in Pakistan, in Karachi, which is good.
Which is not a bad thing.
You have to do a lot of stuff on your own. You're not relying on someone else. On family mostly. I do rely on family, to be very honest, though. As I said this, I realized. But, in a way that you don't live with them. So it's a little different.
But also, why not reap the benefits of the Pakistani
100%.
society,
100%.
family being together?
Culture.
We have so many women who come here and who talk about, my mom helps out and my mother-in-law helps out and this and that. And I'm like, yes, as they should, because you are living in Pakistan. That's how our society is structured. And why not?
Yeah.
If you have that privilege, then why not?
It's a number one faida of living in this culture that you have family supposed to be. In order to raise kids, especially once you have a child, before your kid comes, you want all the privacy in the world, right? But once you have a kid, then you do need a village to raise them. And so I do have that. I don't live with my in-laws, but my in-laws do live in Karachi. And my mom, oh my God, she basically keeps him all the time. And I don't even think I asked her.
Well, you're a working woman, so it helps to have a free babysitter.
Yeah. No, so I feel like when I had Nile, after that, I don't think I asked her कि आप मेरा बच्चा रखेंगी. I just went like, here you go.
Yeah.
I'm outie. I'm just gonna go work. And I feel like with her, it was she was doing it for 2 reasons. I need to work, her daughter needs to work.
Yeah.
And she works for her brother, right? I work with my mamu. So it was more she's kind of having to pull this in for my boss and me.
Right.
So I don't think she really had an option of saying no, let's be honest. If I think I had I asked her, it probably would have turned out different.
True. That's most of my friends say the same thing.
Yeah, I'm
where the parents, and now it's come to a point where the parents straight up are like, listen, I've been there, done this.
Yeah.
Now let me be a grandparent. I don't want to be a parent again.
Yeah,
and my friends are like, no, come on. You're my mom. Do it.
I would do that. I would probably Nile ke bachchon ke saath dur se achhe lag rahe ho, please. Good. I do not want to overcommit to this.
Right.
No, but I feel like that's the best thing about living in Pakistan, that it does genuinely require you a village to raise a kid.
Yeah.
If you think you can do it on your own, you're clearly not a parent. Who thinks? I mean, a normal person who's had kids would never think this.
Right.
And the more the merrier.
Fantastic. This is not why you're here, though. We're not here to talk about we do talk about that. We will be talking about that in some ways, but what you're really here to talk to me about. So basically what happened was my producer came up to me and she was like, oh my God, I went for a haircut the other day. And I was like, oh, cool. And she's like, my friend Zainab, she was talking to me and she dropped something and then she bent over and she couldn't pick it up. And I was like, what do you mean? So please explain, because I was just like, but what do you mean she couldn't pick it up? And then she explained. She was like, no, it was a whole thing, because after her baby, her body went through a lot of changes. So essentially, that's what we're here to talk about today. Yeah. So please tell me, why is it that you couldn't pick something up?
It's a really interesting snippet, I'd say, because I think that was the day when Nile was also at the salon, and he was there because I don't know why he was there. He was just there. He came mid-day and he came in, and I was trying to do the haircut while he was there, and he tends to come and like hang onto my leg and be like, "Mama," and I'm just like, "Ye kiska bachcha hai? Isko side mein karo." But okay, so when your body goes through childbirth, of course, if you think you're going to be the same, that's not the case at all. It changes so dramatically that you would think back and be like, who was that?
Right.
Like, even if it's just a month later, and you'd be like, oh, ek mahine pehle, while you were pregnant, that doesn't feel like you.
Right.
That was a different person, different mentality, different human altogether. You could name her something else, basically, right? And this person who I am right now is completely different. Of course, your back, your joints, everything is like,
okay, let's
worn out.
Step back into, you are pregnant. Okay, now you going through apparently your childbirth process was very intense. What happened?
Okay, so I feel like with me, normal stuff, I loved my doctor. We were at Lady Dufferin, and there's a doctor with Setna, Zaryab Setna Navera. She's really good. Anyways, so I decided at some point during my pregnancy that I will do this without an epidural.
Yeah, as most of my friends decided that, and
I was like, I can do this.
Closer to the time, you keep ping-ponging between the decision.
Towards the end, I was like, what was I thinking? What?
Hormones.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so a little bit of backstory. I've always been someone who's felt like मुझे दर्द नहीं होती इतनी खास. Like, even if I've been burnt or I'm like, there. I'm not going to cry about it. Even as a kid, I was always that guy who would not crib about being in pain. So I remember telling my gynae this. I'm like, I'm not going to take an epidural. I'm sure I'll be fine. She's like, and I told her this. I was like, मेरा pain का threshold बहुत ज़्यादा है. She was like, beta, please don't compare the two. They're nothing alike. I was like, I'm sure I'll be fine. She was like, let's do the no epidural, but don't go in with this mindset.
Right.
And I was like, and in my head, I'm thinking, she doesn't know me. Okay, so I went in and I think I had to get induced because of some minor complications. So we're like, okay, fine. It was really interesting, like how it started. I got myself, I wasn't completely done. Like it wasn't 40 weeks, it was 38th.
Right.
38th week, I think.
Yeah.
And I had to get some ultrasound done when I karaya, and then I sent it to my doctor. And my doctor is really nice this way. Like, she just messaged her and she would, So she messaged me back saying, can you come in right now? So, and she didn't want to freak me out, but I knew at that point something is up. So I went in and she turned around and she was like, she was panicking. And she was like, everything was going so smoothly up till now. What happened? And no, I think we should induce you tonight. And I'm like, कर लेते हैं यार, relax करो, क्या हो गया, मतलब tension
I love it because all of my friends have been the opposite of you.
No.
They've been like,
I was like, कर लेते हैं, क्या हो गया? And she was like, नहीं, we could have easily gone to 40 weeks. I was like, okay, we could have done a lot of things in life, but let's not, think about what it could have been, and let's just go for it. It's fine, relax, girl, chill. And she was just like panicking, and then she was like, oh, fine, let's just do it tonight. And so I went in, got the whole process started. At some point, after they break your water, they're just like, okay, this is now getting a little tough.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I'm like, okay,
where's that epidural?
Okay. And my mother was there and she really knew that I wanted a non-epidural situation. So she kept on saying, no, you can do it, you can do it. And I don't know, at some point, I remembered screaming so hard because my husband came to me and he's like, cheekna to cheek lo, andar mat roko. I started bawling. It was insane. I think the entire hospital could hear my screams. But It happened eventually. It was very long. It took like 22 hours, way longer than what I anticipated. It got a little complicated, but it was fine towards the end. Eventually, kar liya maine.
Right.
ठीक है. But was it easy? No. Will I recommend other people to do this? I'm not sure. I would be like, dude, you really need to like know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I went into it this way because I was unaware, not because I knew all my options. Like, I knew my options, but I didn't realize it's going to be this bad.
Did you have conversations with other people before you went into labor or before you went into the whole process of childbirth?
I feel like no, I didn't. And no one talks about it, right? I think some people read parenting books. I decided, लोग तो खेतों में भी बच्चे पैदा कर लेते हैं. Like, पढ़ने की क्या जरूरत है?
We hear this a lot on this podcast.
I was just like, gosh, like I'm gonna get to it. I literally had 3-4 parenting books. My sister had given them to me. She has 2 kids. Somebody else had also given me a book. I'm like, yeah, I'll read it. I'm not really a reader, so I was just like, karti hu. I never did it, and I feel like I was blindsided to another level because I had no idea. I was so unaware. ये तो एक बात है ना that you don't take an epidural. I do feel like I think anyone who even makes that sane decision to not take an epidural would definitely regret it when that pain hits you and you're just like, who am I? Because it honestly, you know, like how they say, if I'm not wrong, I'm quite sure of this, they say even in the Quran that, you know, if you die during birth, you go straight to heaven.
Right.
Because aap shaheed ho hain. So, like, really, like, look into the details of it, right?
Every single person I know who has been through it has said, literally, it's like going to war.
It's like going to war.
No one else can understand it other than that one person who's going through it.
Yeah.
So, I completely, like, I have never gone through it. I know too much. I know too much because everyone and their mother has shared these things with me. But again, every day, every time I have these conversations, I learn something new. I learned something very, very new. As far back as last week, I learned something new and I was like, wait, that also happens? I didn't know. This morning I was having a chat with my friend and she said, oh yeah, by the way, this also happens. And I'm like, what? I didn't know about this. Because nobody talks about it. So I'm so glad that you're here talking about it with me, and we'll see at the end of this podcast how things go.
No, I feel like so when I had mine, it was so interesting. Of course, I was freaking out. Ye ho kya raha hai? Ye kaise ho gaya? Post baby.
Right.
For me, what also happened was my pregnancy was mashallah so smooth that, you know, you're just in this weird bubble.
Right.
You think it's gonna be fine. Ek toxic positivity hoti hai. No one thinks about it, but if you get too much of it, it kind of stops you from being productive also, right? And I just want to figure it out. I'll be good. And then when it happened, I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? So I had the most interesting situations where I remember post, you know, having a kid, I was at my mom's and I would just be like panicking because puri raat, my kid also was a little painful for the first 4 months in the sense he would always, like, for 4 months, he just cried. If he's awake, he's crying.
Right.
And that will bring us to another aspect of babies, which is, you know, the importance of nursing and the pressure that we put on moms कि भाई nurse करना है आपने.
Right.
You know, you have to give her your own. And I was one of those people. Like, I felt like, oh my God, I want to nurse my kid on this. And for the 4 months that I exclusively nursed him, he was basically hungry. So he always cried. He was always crying.
Right.
And no one tells you that, okay, this is what's happening. And I think one person did tell me and I'm just like, I'm still going to go at it. I'm still going to try it. Because a mom guilt bhi tha. 6 weeks down the road, I went back to work with him. And I used to do like 1 to 2 hours a day. I would just take one appointment. I'd take 2 appointments. And he would be with me in a different room. And I'd be like running back and forth, feeding him. And I feel like somewhere along, you know, you try and like make sure कि आपने 10 साल काम किया, आपका काम खराब ना हो.
Yes.
Because you worked so hard on building your career for those 10, 11 years that now that you have a kid, you don't want everything to go away. And then you have like, I have this little nanny si John and I want to make sure he's protected and he's taken care of. And then you're trying to juggle in between and you're constantly guilty for either not being at work or not being with your kid, right? So 6 weeks down the road, I came back to work and I was working and I was like, but I will nurse him. I will nurse him 24/7, like exclusively. So 4 महीने वो बहुत रोए. And now I'm just going around telling people that प्लीज फॉर्मूला दे दिया करे, पहले दिन दिया करे, वो बकवास थी, ठीक है, डोंट पुट योरसेल्फ थ्रू दैट. सो आई फील लाइक दैट मेड अ ह्यूज डिफरेंस, एंड बिकॉज ही वुड बी क्राइंग ऑल द टाइम, माई instant reaction to having a child was, why do people do this? Like, ये मैंने क्यों किया अपने साथ? ये तो स्कैम हो गया मेरे साथ.
Most moms.
तो hand हो गया मेरे साथ. Like, did I know this was gonna happen? And I feel like, I'm not even kidding, like 4 महीने बाद, I got him on to like taking 1 formula a day. And then 5th month, took 2 bottles a day. And, you know, he started picking up on his weight. He stopped being so cranky all the time. And then 6 months onwards, started eating. And I feel like 6 months ke baad, I'm like, oh my God, I love him. It took me 6 months to like be like, for the first 6 months, I was just like, let's keep this one alive. Okay, that is the aim here. He has to, like, you cannot, yeah, you're responsible for him. That's it.
I think you are speaking what every mother has thought. I'm
a bit too verbal diarrhea.
No, but it's a good thing because there are people right now watching this who are like, oh my God, I thought the same thing.
No.
Because I've literally heard my friends say the same thing. So I've also heard, I learned a new term. The term I learned was, I was always told 3 trimesters and then baby comes out, right?
No, 4th.
Apparently, there are 4 trimesters and the 4th one is post-baby, and it's not just the baby going through changes in the first 12 weeks or whatever. The mom actually goes through a lot of changes.
So what's really interesting is that, like I've already said this to you, I remember one of my clients who I've known since a while back, recently had a kid. Her son's, 4 months or something. And I kept on speaking to her during her pregnancy and I kept on scaring the shit out of her. I was just like, itna aasan nahi hoga beta, thoda sa realistic ho ja. बहुत मुश्किल है.
You always need that one friend though to tell you.
I think I like, every time she'd come for a haircut, she'd be like, can you not scare me today? I'm like, 3 haircuts is all I get to prepare you for this, because they come every 3rd month, right? So and then so the other day I said something to her and I just felt like as I said it to her and she replied back, I just felt it even more. I was like, can you relate to the person you were the day before you gave birth? And she was like, who was that? I was like, can you go back into like that mindset and be like, मैं ये सोच रही थी उस दिन. Like, these are my worries. That because when you're pregnant, all you think about is giving birth.
Yeah.
No one thinks about what happens after the birth has been given.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, no one talks about it.
No one talks about it.
I mean, apart from the, oh yeah, you go to your parents' house, your mom will help you look after the baby, but that's it. Nobody actually talks about what really happens to you.
Yeah.
I have learnt in very scary ways. A, your body changes.
100%.
B, your brain changes.
100%.
C, your personality changes. You kind of also, like, one of my friends said this to me recently. She was like, the way that your personality changes, you are now, like, literally you feel like a shell of whatever, because your nutrients from your body have gone to the baby, your calcium has gone to the baby, your everything's gone to the baby. If you don't eat, you wither, your hair falls, your skin gets dry, all of these, like, things keep happening. So what all happened to you?
So I felt like I said, like post-baby, I think the first 4 to 5 months, I felt like a shell, essentially, like soulless, okay? Yeah. And for many other reasons, emotional reasons bhi hote hain uske, and then obviously physical, you know, you feel like every single, like, you know, my koni mein dard ho raha hai, like, why are my knees hurting, man? I'm not that old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I'm getting up, my knees are hurting. That's so weird. Also, I feel like one thing I didn't do, because this is, you know, Delta variant was really intense when I was about to go into childbirth, and so hospital के बहुत rules थे, and then right after जो 40 दिन होते हैं, उसमें मैंने massages नहीं कराए थे. So I feel like if you
but are you allowed to?
You're supposed to. You're supposed to for the first 6 weeks, apparently. Like
for circulation and
for whatever, like midwives and all these Pakistani, like our culture is all about like getting those. What they say is, आपने हड्डियों को वापस जगह पे लगाना होता है, or something like that. That's how a regular layman.
Your bones move.
Yeah, your bones move. Oh, 100% your bones move.
What do you mean?
Okay, so basically for the 9 months that you're pregnant, I'll come back to what I was saying later.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just. This, again, see, learning something new.
For the 9 months that your body is getting ready for popping a kid, they introduce, I've forgotten the name, lactin करके ऐसे कोई नाम था, I've forgotten the name, I'm probably getting it wrong. एक hormone release होता है जिससे your joints become weak, so that eventually 9 months later you're able to pop the kid. So, and then that's why, and that's essentially the reason why post-baby your back is hurting, everything is hurting. I don't particularly believe in the massages that I should have gotten. I never got because I was like scared of like COVID.
Oh, so you're kind of busy. Yeah.
No, yeah. The 6 weeks you're home, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't busy, but I was just like, oh my God, I'm not getting anyone new from outside.
Yeah, fair.
And a malish wali will come and how clean is she? I don't know. Is she positive? Is she going out in different places?
Right.
Is she going to other people's homes? So I just did not want that kind of exposure. I didn't. My mom kept on telling me, kara lo, ek to kara lo, ek to kara lo. I was like, man, no thanks. I'm good.
Yeah.
So I didn't. But I actually heard so many people tell me that, oh my God, this is why your bones are hurting. And apparently they put it together or something. And I was like, listen, the Goras don't get it. And so I think if they're surviving and their bones are not falling apart on the street, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay? Please, I don't want this at all.
Yeah.
So I didn't. But for all you know, that could be the reason why my bones are hurting. But I feel like...
You are losing calcium. Your child has taken all your calcium.
Yeah. And the thing is, post-baby, and this is the one thing I felt, my doctor was like, iron deficiency hai, le lo. मैंने कहा, ये मैं नहीं खा रही. I'm sorry, I will try my best. But will I remember in between the pamper changes and the
feeding,
bottles and the napping and everything? I don't think so. So I didn't. Let's be honest.
Okay.
But I have friends who did and they still feel like their bones hurt. So I don't know how.
Okay.
I mean, shortly after, I feel like 4-5 months later, I kind of, got back into the routine of eating properly. So yes, you end up getting everything from that.
Right.
But yeah, that's the tough part.
Did you have, okay, so the bones thing was one. What's going on with your spine? How is it that like now you're still...
So I feel like essentially it's all related, right? Like it puts so much strain on your back, even though, now imagine this. I went through that pain of no epidural simply because I didn't want back issues.
Yeah.
Right? Like my sister had her first kid with epidural. A lot of other people I see, all our moms and their generation, everyone keeps on telling you about how बुढ़ापे में back issues नहीं चाहिए तो फिर आप जो है epidural ना लगवाएं, ठीक है? So that's
because they put the injection
in the spine,
into your spine. Yeah, essentially.
So and then also it's practiced very differently in Pakistan. If you do it abroad, it's a very different story. I don't know how it's different, but I have friends who've done one kid there, one here, so they have a comparison. Mm-hmm. So I, anyways, did not want to do it. But even though that's the case, again, calcium की कमी की वजह से और चीज़ों की वजह से, you do have a lot of back issues. Like literally today, my kid, as I was getting ready at home, before I went to work and then I came here, right? So before I was going to work, I was sitting on the floor and I was picking something up, I guess. I was closing the bottom drawer actually for my dresser.
Right.
And he just kind of jumped onto my back and he was like, and so I got up 2 seconds later and he was like, no, come back down. Piggyback karna hai. So I got him on board and he's 3, so kitna hoga yaar. I walked into the other room and I dropped him off on the chair and then I was like, bro, this is all my back can take, okay? I can't do more than this. Like he was like, oh, we want more, let take me back in that room. I'm like,
right.
Let's walk, hold hands and do this.
Yeah.
Because I can't take you. And I felt that, okay, like back mein thoda sa. Like you have that weird sensation that you never had before.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I can't compare because I haven't had a kid and I haven't felt that kind of joint pain. But as I get older, there are different parts of my body that hurt. I wake up with a different part of my body hurting and I'm like, that was never there before. So what's going on with me?
But that's post-30s, I think.
Yeah, that too.
Life.
Yes, that's post-30 life. But like, I can understand that for a mother, pre-baby and then post-baby, you're kind of learning all these new things about your body as well.
Also, I feel that you realize that you are so adaptable and you're capable of so much more than what you thought you are of.
Okay.
Right? In the sense that all the complaining that you did before having a kid goes away. You're feeling a lot worse, but you're not complaining as much. Because it's just like, like what is this in compared to what I went through, right?
Absolutely.
That comparison is there. And generally I feel like focus aap se shift ho jata hai completely. You are no longer even for yourself, everyone has that. Like for example, you don't have a kid, you have this thing that मैं अपने लिए सबसे ज़्यादा important हूँ. For me, I am a priority. Even if I neglect myself at times, I am a priority for myself, right? You are always kind of primarily thinking about your own needs. When you have a kid,
then you're only thinking about the kid.
You think about yourself. Like I remember, it's the smallest thing, and we've always heard parents say this, and I felt it. I think a year or so down the road, I realized हमने अपने लिए कुछ भी नहीं लिया हुआ था. Like shopping wise. Every time I go to DawnNews, and I go quite often, I would just go pick up something for my kid, either his clothes, or I go pick up a bottle, or I just kind of, my entire DawnNews trip is Nile related, where he's having the time of his life, and he's basically going into Sinbad, and he's getting the food that he wants, and he's picking up whatever he wants.
Right.
We're only going in bachonga stores, we're not even going in like Sapphire or Cardi. I'm freaking going in like Mini Miners and Roll Over and all these places. I don't even go on that side. And it took me a year to realize, wait a second, why have I not bought anything for myself? It's been a year.
It's a new part of your brain you're unlocking, right? And you're shutting down the part of your brain temporarily until you have to keep reminding yourself that you need that me time also. I was talking to someone recently and they were like, the first time I went for a drive on my own, because they stopped driving after they had a baby. And then the very first time she went for a drive on her own, post-baby, she's like, I was all alone in the car. I turned the music up and I just drove.
Jammed.
And I took a little extra time coming back from the grocery store because it was just that me time, just me. And it reminded me of a time pre-baby, pre-marriage, pre-everything, where it was just me just driving and listening to music. And so I think every mom should constantly keep reminding themselves. But I also feel like you're saying, you have to make a conscious effort to do that.
No, 100%. You have to make a conscious effort.
It doesn't come to you naturally.
For me, it was a little different in the sense that, like I said, 6 weeks ke baad I started working, and 4 months I used to take my kid along with me. And then after those 4 months, like I remember December onwards, I started to leave him at my mom's.
Right.
But for example, like last week, I remember I got done earlier, like my last appointment didn't show up. And so somebody else, like we've got this other hairstylist at the salon, and I'm really good friends with her. And she went like, "Tum jao na phir ghar." And she loves kids. Okay, she has a kid of her own.
Yeah.
But she loves mine also, and it's very like maternal. I feel like मेरे एक और चीज़ें मैं इतनी maternal नहीं हूँ. Let's be honest, which is fine. I feel like it works. So she went like, "घर जाओ ना," and I was like, ये 9 to 5 था, अब 5 to 9 करना है. 1 घंटा को मुझे आराम चाहिए. मैं इस स्लॉट में आराम से बैठूंगी. I'm gonna get my pedicure done, and then I'm gonna go home.
There you go.
I'm not just gonna be like, I'm done with work, I'm out of here. No, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna like थोड़ा self care कर लेते हैं. 1 घंटा है ना, 5 बजे के बाद जाती हूँ मैं घर. 5 बजे के बाद ही जाऊँगी. So I feel like I still had that. For me, I think there was a little bit of the flip side that I do feel like, obviously, mom guilt is the most intense thing. No matter how much you're doing, you feel like aap kuch nahi kar rahe.
Yeah.
And you should be doing more. And yes, of course, people make you feel that way also. Not directly, but indirectly. Through something or the other, you will feel like, oh my God, like that person's doing so much. And oh my God, I'm not being able to do this. Or in different ways, right? So that is there, but I feel like it's so important. Yes, of course, be a good mom, but then have something of your own, which is not being a mom.
Exactly.
Okay, which is something that you identify with. Because see, like right now, Nile is 3. At some point, I'll have another one. And then once that kid is also older, they'll go in autopilot.
Do you think moms forget?
100%.
What they've been through? And then when they have their second?
No, to be honest, no. Like like I said, I remember every millisecond of the night. Like,
I ask all my friends this.
2nd ki raat thi, 2nd September ki raat se 3rd, right? He was born at night at 9ish on the 3rd. I remember every second of it. I have not forgotten. But will I have another one? Of course I'll have another one. Why? Because of this one. He needs a sibling.
Yeah.
I sound like my mom, but he needs a sibling. Why does he need a sibling? He'll otherwise become very, spoiled, or he will not. When kids don't have to share their parents with another sibling, for whom the ownership is exactly the same.
Right.
बहन भाई के साथ है ना, like दोस्त के साथ तो नहीं है, right? So unless they have to share that, they don't learn कि okay, like we at times have to share. The essence of sharing comes from that. And so I see that in friends who are only children. And as lovely as they are and as amazing, and my best friend is that, like she's an only child, but she herself, like I remember when she had her first kid and then did not want to have another one for the longest time, eventually had her second one, like with a 7-year gap. Her script or her line every time used to be, I just like don't want her to turn out like me. Like I want her to have a sibling.
Oh, I feel like all single kids like have this.
Even though she had a cousin who lived with her and everything, and so she did have a sibling. But you know, एक चीज होती है.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I'm really gonna sound like a brown auntie when I say this. That what happens when we die, right? Like the kid is gonna be alone. They need a sibling.
But this is a very real thing.
Yeah,
this is a
they
very
need a
real
sibling.
thing.
And so eventually when I go, you ask me, will I do it again to myself?
Yeah.
I will do it again to myself. Am I traumatized? 100% I'm traumatized. Do I like self-inflicting pain? Probably. But
you can take it.
I can take it. I feel like, will I take an epidural? Maybe. Let's think about it. Back to dard kar hi rahi hai.
Yeah.
Might as well. Not take as
all
much
of those
pain.
reasons why you weren't taking it. It's happening
It's
anyways.
happening anyways.
Right.
So it's fine. We're good. But yes, of course, body changes dramatically.
I think along with the body change, so this is something that like I've heard a lot of conversations along these lines where yes, your body changes and that's something it's not really in your control. There's another thing that's also not in your control is the thoughts that you start having, the psychological toll that it takes. Apart from postpartum depression, which a lot of mums have, in fact, I feel like every mum has.
Yeah, it's natural.
They say, oh yeah, some mums don't have it and this and that. I feel like every mum has it. It's only natural because your hormones are kind of bonkers before that and they're kind of coming back into place. So apart from that, your body is changing. You're going to think about this, right? You are a different person now. You look in the mirror, you look at yourself, your hair's falling out, your skin is different, your nails are different. Everything's different. So it's going to take a toll on you mentally as well.
Also changes the structure of like your face. I'm not kidding. Like you probably had a chiseled face before and now all of a sudden it's not fat, but goal ho gaya.
I'm lucky. I have a round face and it will probably remain this round, if not get rounder.
So what I'm trying to say is, yes, of course, everyone goes through basic baby blues, no matter what you say. Baby blues wo hote hain, jo meri knowledge hai, that the ones which don't need antidepressants.
Right.
So it's, that though happens to everybody. Okay, you are going to 100% feel like, you know, what have I done? And oh my God, like, how will I keep this alive? And, you know, like,
it's only natural.
I remember when he used to go to, pehle I'd be crying, why is he not sleeping? And when he would sleep, I'd be like, is he fine? Is he okay? Naak check karo, saans le raha hai.
Yeah.
SIDS to nahi ho gaya. I don't know if you know what SIDS is.
No.
But if you're freshly into postpartum, just don't Google anything. I learned third day of my kid that there's a thing called sudden infant death. The child can die out of nowhere for no apparent reason.
Oh God.
Just lying down. कुछ भी मतलब बस वो कोई एक mysterious phenomena है and it just happens to some kids.
Oh my God.
And oh my goodness, stop sleeping after that. I would literally every 10 minutes
sit there, stare. Yeah.
नाक check करो. Okay, बस सांस ले रहा है. You know, like I would keep my hand on his chest to see is it moving.
Yeah.
And there would be nights when he would actually sleep and I would just be doing it. And I remember my sister-in-law, who's always been a rock for me, my nand, and she was like, and she's a doctor, so you know, you end up asking all these things because she's a mom and a doctor.
Yeah.
So I was just like, ye kya? And she's like, pagal ho gayi, nahi hota aisa kuch bhi. Chup hoke so jaya karo, theek hai? And she's like, whenever your kid takes a nap, try to take one during the day. I know it's difficult, but it's, you know. And I was like, but what about SIDS? And she was like, I don't want to hear this word again. The chances of SIDS is very less, Zainab. The chances of sleep deprivation, a lot more.
Yeah.
Just, you know, like try to calm down. So I feel like you feel so anxious. Like, मुझे कभी anxiety नहीं होती थी before having a kid. Now I'm like a angst spot, you know?
Right.
So obviously, I feel like body changes. But you know, I feel like eventually, like I'd say 2 years down after having a kid, you also start to accept what you were not accepting before.
Right.
For example, I've always had weight issues, right? I've never been ultra thin. Like, yeah, I lost a lot of weight for my shadi and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've always been like, you know, yo-yo dieting, XYZ.
Right.
But now I feel like I think I look pretty good. You know, like maybe the heaviest of my life, but I think I'm doing well. So you have to physically, like, you have to consciously think about it and physically get there. But eventually, yes, for most people, I mean, it happened to me, alhamdulillah, and I feel like it should happen to everyone.
Yeah.
They should think about, you know what, it's okay. It's fine. You're doing the best you
I
can.
absolutely agree. I mean, I've been that one person that my weight has also gone up and down.
Yeah.
And I've fluctuated quite a bit, but I've always been very secure about how I look and whatnot. Obviously, there are certain things that everyone wants to change about themselves. But with mums, like, I feel like because their body's been through so much.
And your metabolism is messed up.
Yeah, you're feeding, you're hungry, you want to eat, but then you also like, I'm putting on too much weight. Or when you stop feeding, you're eating, you're putting on weight. There's your body's constantly going up and down. Plus, there's also actual medical things that happen to you. Terms, obviously, I have Googled. I not remember any of the names officially, but none of us are doctors, so it's fine.
It's fine.
And the people watching aren't either, but they know exactly what I'm talking about. There's lots of weird things that happen to your body. It almost feels alien.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with my friends where they're like, you know, this is not my body. I feel like this is someone else's body. Yeah. And that feeling lasts for quite a few weeks. So I'm so glad that for you
not just weeks, I'm saying 2 years. Hello.
Oh God, 2 years.
Not weeks. It takes a while it took me 2 full years to be like, you know what?
And here I was, 4th trimester, 12 weeks, done and dusted. Now you're back to your normal self.
No.
Really?
No. And the biggest scam, I think, is, you know, when you have a kid and you're so overwhelmed, everyone's like, bas 1 mahina nikal lo. Nahi, 40 din nikal lo. 40 days बाद it changes. And they go like, 2 months is a good mark. 3 months, but you'll feel so much better. 12 months easily, it takes you to feel normal or whatever your new normal is. So there's no such thing as going back.
Right.
You don't go back. I'm still not back. And you learn to appreciate and, you know, like feel good about the new normal, because I think your body is a warrior and it's been through war, like we have already discussed. So why are we trying to go back to a, you know, lower level technically? We've reached level 10. Why are we trying to say, no, I want to go back to level 7? No, we're at level 10, right? So that's all great, but you learn to accept it. At least that's exactly what I was saying earlier, that for the longest time, it was like, wasn't kam karna hai. But then also I felt like, okay, fine, but I do still want to lose weight. I'm not saying I don't want to lose weight, but I feel like I've given birth, okay? Like an actual person came out of me. So let's give some credit to that.
I love the fact that you said level up. In my head, I'm literally thinking your body is leveling up, you're leveling up, and in your life, you're also leveling up. You have another human that now, like, your family is growing and stuff. So if people started thinking of it this way, it would be really cool. 2.0.
100%. 100%. And literally, I mean, I'm obviously not saying that's bacha paida kar lein, because let's be honest, that's insane. But, you know, like with every kid, you learn so much more. So for example, now postpartum happens. Yes, it's so real. I went through it with the first kid. Then I saw recently my best friend go through her second kid. And so with her, there was a bigger comparison because she went through it, and my sister-in-law, my brother basically, he had a kid, and they were around the same time. And so my bhabhi was the first-time mom, and my best friend was the second-time mom. And the postpartum, you know, how to cope with your hormones was a completely different ballgame. Second baby, but you know, man, like, you know, this is like, you're possessed, okay? This time, the first 6 weeks, you're basically possessed, and it's okay. You're fine, you know, like, you'll get through this. It's easy to get over the baby blues as well, of course. It's different for everyone, I believe.
Yeah.
But first time, pe to aapko lagta hai na ki duniya hil gayi hai thodi si. Someone just taken you and like shaking you, be like, dude, get back to reality, right? So I feel like it's different with every kid. 2 is normally what most people in this day and age go for. Yeah, whatever they want. It's a personal thing for everyone.
Yeah, and the people around you, were they like supportive? Were they like your husband, your parents, your in-laws?
So my husband is very supportive. He gives a lot of time to my kid. So his kid also, our kid.
I was gonna be like, she'll get there eventually. I'm so glad. Yeah.
So to my like, what doesn't work for me basically is the fact that if you give my child an option to use me as a human shield to save his father, he would take it.
I love that.
If you ask him at any point of the day, who do you like more, he will be like, wow, of course. This one is.
This is
okay.
why you need a second.
Yeah. Oh my god, I
to
thought
get
about
one
it.
on your side.
I thought
one
about
for him,
it.
one for you.
Once I was in this, like, I was talking, and so the thing with my kid is all the sass is coming from my side of the genetic pool. Like, I know my husband's too masoom bichara.
Right.
Like, वो एक भोला इंसान है, ठीक है. So ये जो talk back आ रहा है, ये मैंने किया था ना अपने parents के साथ, right? I was that rebellious kid.
Right.
I was a talk backer, basically. So I know I'm talking to myself. Like, it's like looking in the mirror. And like at one point I actually thought about it and I was like, you know what? I think I need to have another one simply because I need to like teach this one a lesson.
Absolutely. One for you, one for... Yeah. That's how it
So
should be.
my husband's really supportive, of course. I think he's a bigger mother than I am. His mom intuition is stronger than mine. There are times when he's like, "Isne sneeze kiya hai?" And I'm like, "Kuch nahi hua." And then 2 minutes later, we'll realize he's coming down with something. He's like, "I was telling you." I'm like, how the hell did he know? Like, why didn't I know this? My mother has been insanely supportive. I literally dump my kid on her every single day.
Yeah.
And she's raising him, let's be honest. Emotional support from the entire family, my sisters, my sister-in-law, my mill. So I feel like this way I'm very lucky in this way.
Amazing. I'm so glad that you came here to talk to us about all of this because I feel like these kind of candid conversations, how easy was this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I learned something. I learned lots of things. You got to talk about it, talk through it. How can we get more and more people to do this? Like, how can we get more and more people to openly? Because look, for you, you know how those old school barbershops, conversations happen and stuff? Salons, essentially, I like that. It's basically
100%.
where the community comes to get together and have chats.
100%.
Do you have a lot of these conversations in the salon?
Oh my God, the second I learned someone's pregnant, you cannot get me to shut up. I will
Amazing.
go on.
You're doing a service, by the way, to the
Yeah.
community.
I feel like, honestly, if I was articulate enough, I would have written a book about this. I feel so strongly
You can
about...
still write a book.
No, I don't
You
do
have
that.
enough content.
I do have enough content.
Yeah.
That's 100% like correct. I have enough content. I feel like there's so many stories I haven't even gotten to right now. But so whenever I see someone, and I normally like I'm very friendly with all my clients. Like I feel like half of them are now my friends, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm talking, like when they tell me they're pregnant, I'm like, oh. And then when they say I have a boy, I'm like, oh, no, dude. I'm sorry, I feel for you. So I tell them all the stuff that I feel like no one ever told me, or I just didn't listen.
Yeah.
Ek aur cheez hoti, it's not relatable, right? Because
Everyone's experience is different.
Yeah.
Yes. But there are some things that people should know about.
Yeah.
Like your bones move.
Yeah.
So-
and certain things that you need to be ready for,
Yeah.
which no one's ever told you. And I wish there was a platform for this, but I feel like at the end of the day,
Right,
I mean, we're talking
Come
about
talk
it.
to us about it.
We're talking about it, but see, we're talking about it once I've been through it.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
How
true.
many non-moms, non-pregnant ones are going to be even like, do you get it? Like,
Yeah.
they would think, hamare saath aisa nahi hoga.
Yeah.
Do you get it? So I do feel like maybe this should be like, you know, like how abroad they have like Lamaze classes and they have those educational, like, we don't have that. I don't think we have maybe like some classes, but kaun leta hai?
Yeah.
Koi nahi leta. I
Yeah.
don't know anyone who's here and who takes it.
Well, I mean, I don't think they talk in these classes. I think it's more like exercise classes or whatever.
No, I feel like let's talk about
Yes.
what is going to happen to us, like
Yeah.
the mom, the person giving birth, you know?
Well, I mean, you've given us a great idea, producer. We could turn this podcast eventually into one of these if we do enough of these
Lamaze
episodes.
class.
Yeah, Lamaze class, group therapy. We're already there. We're doing
Oh,
it.
by the way, that's another thing, like an AA group for like postpartum mothers.
Moms, yeah.
So important.
Yeah, I feel like this podcast is halfway there.
Yeah.
Next steps, I'm calling you back. We're going to talk about your son. We're
Yeah,
going to talk
of
about
course.
mothering him
Yeah.
and generally just motherhood and stuff. I'm genuinely I'm the kind of person that wants to know everything before I get into it. So eventually down the road, once I do have my own kid, I want to be prepared.
Yeah.
And that's why we did this podcast, so I know everything. So thank you so much for coming in and giving me all of this information, and also for letting all of these people know that it's okay to like just casually sit here, candidly talk about these things, because they're not taboo. It happens to everyone. Yes, it happens differently to everyone, but it still happens to every single person out there. And we should be talking about these things.
I think the second we realize that it's okay to talk about it, like half the problem is solved.
Right.
Because you realize, like, I feel like this is what social media is all about right now, right? Like, content that goes viral is content people are relating to. So we're showing people that there's value to what you're going through in your day-to-day life simply because everyone's going through it. So, and I feel like you kind of do end up feeling very isolated because you feel like it's only happening to you and something is up with you and something is wrong with you. So the fact that we're right here talking about it for so many other people to see is definitely a good thing, because they can be like, okay, fine, yes, I feel this way. And yeah, like I also felt this and I did this. And it makes the biggest difference.
On that note, thank you.
We're done.
And hope to see you again soon
Yes,
here for our
definitely.
group therapy session. We should
AA.
totally do it.
New mom AA.
Yeah, we should totally do it.
Done. I'm in. I can be like the mediator, talking to people about, you feel this way, you feel like that. I did everything.
Amazing, amazing. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.